Hello and welcome to SOUQ Pulse. It's a beautiful, beautiful rainy day in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise. For those that got drenched this morning, never mind, they are good showers. And for every farmer that has been praying for this, make the best of it. Then for those that have been hit with flood, our hearts are with you and our prayers are with you. Always know this: there are brighter days. Let's leave the blame and get people safe. Now, here we talk. On SOUQ Pulse, it doesn't matter how the topic come out, how we take it. As long as we talk, we take egos, we wrap it up, and we throw it in the trash. We take pride, we don't kind of wrap it, we don't look for a cage and just forget about it. Then we really talk, because we say nations should move forward. We say economies should progress. We say Africa should count. We say businesses should do better. So we talk. So if ego and pride is an issue, then we'll still talk. We don't have an excuse not to talk. My name is Chuks, John Rogers Chuks. So today we will go somewhere that is as old as Africa. Like you heard me loud and clear. We'll go there. We'll touch on some particular points that people just read in the papers and they just look at it and say, it's life. But is it really life? It's SOUQ Pulse, where we talk, and talk we shall. Today, don't shy away. Call your neighbors, call your friends. Let's gather and let's talk. We're going on a very short break, and when we return, it's me, my thought, and you, and we will talk. Don't go anywhere. SOUQ Pulse will be right back. Welcome back. This is SOUQ Pulse, and my name is still Chuks, John Rogers Chuks. We have heard this for a very long time, as long as I can remember, way before I was born, and everybody refers to Africa with this particular rhetorics. A narrative that have come to stay. And they look at us and call us a dark continent, underdeveloped, developing for those that are kind, third world, poor, corrupt. Now, whatever you think it is. Now, we are looking at this particular thing and we are asking ourselves this question, which makes our topic for today. Where exactly is our future? Who has stolen Africa's future? But while we're breaking it down, we are looking at it like the taker. You know what I say, the taker. And the keeper. You know what I mean by who is the keeper. Then we're asking ourselves directly, among this taking, among those keeping, who exactly is the thief that has given us this particular narrative for a very long time? Whether we like it or not, we have funds leaving this continent on yearly basis. A particular article said well over 700 billion. That is way not true. Because you and I know that well over $50 billion leave Africa every year. That is stolen funds. You can calculate that in the currency of your nation, wherever. If it makes sense to you, beautiful. If your calculator is reading error, then you know that we have a problem. Now, this is aside natural resources, be it petroleum in your country, be it solid minerals, be it agricultural products, be it byproduct of any other thing you're digging up or getting from the sea. What amount of it is stolen on a yearly basis? Now monetize it. Now add that to the amount of money taken, stolen, bribed by your government officials, your politicians, your contractors. The normal person that has a way of getting this money is out of your country. That's where we are heading to today. Then now let's ask ourselves this question. Are we really poor? For centuries, Africa has grown the economies of Western nations and continue to bleed for some. Are we poor? Is Africa poor? 50 billion, over 50 billion every year. Now, this is money big enough for infrastructure in some small African countries. Let's take, for example, Ghana. If you invest 50 billion in Ghana in infrastructure for 5 years, Ghana will be something else. Now, let's take smaller countries. There's a Togo, there's a Benin. Yet, monies leave this country, be it directly, be it indirectly. Okay. Now, why do we still have this narrative? Year in, year out. Dark continent. For some that go extreme. Poor continent. For some that just want to keep you down. Then some will go further to keep telling you that you are developing. But whereas the person telling you are developing has a footprint right here on this continent and not letting go. How did we get here? Now, there's this particular analogy. If you put a harness on a horse or a donkey might be stubborn at times. But let's take, for example, a horse. After a while, even without the harness, the horse will still obey you or do the things she will do with the harness on, just by you practicalizing putting an invisible harness. Is that where we've gotten to because of time of indoctrination, or the education we've had over time, or the narrative that have been preached to us over time? Is that where we've gotten to? That we have refused to look inwards and ask ourselves this question and tell ourselves some basic truth, or slap ourselves off the sleep? Where has the continuous narrative and education gotten Africa? Africa is losing way more than we are getting. Now, if we look at the natural resources, we are blessed from north to east, from south to west. Then we ask ourselves, where and how did we get to this particular point? Where African countries have come to a place where words are now being coined for us to believe and study, and we take it. African countries now, I won't say sell, they export their natural resources, those that have not even been paid for. In future, they call it resource-based loans. These are things that if your ancestors were told that, they will slap you before your own grandfathers were born. But that is where we are right now. Example, in Nigeria, crude has been sold years ahead. Let's break it down so that maybe you will get to understand it. In Ghana, in Congo, solid minerals have been sold that have not even been tapped, explored, or drilled yet. So which means you've collected the money and you will keep paying. Now we don't have the details of how long that payment is going to be. So you now look at me and ask me, how did we get here? Who is pulling the strings for us to dance? What music exactly are we dancing to? Now, if we continue at this particular rate, for those that are entering into bilateral or service agreements with, be it companies, be it nations, are we really getting into this agreement with the interest of our nations as the priority? We have seen individuals in power sell their country for personal gains. It's not new. It's all over the place. Typical example, the P&AD issue. Nigeria was about to lose 11 billion. Now you ask me, how much, those that fronted this particular deal, how much did they make? How many of this kind of deals, this kind of bilateral engagement, this kind of negotiations, this kind of signatures are signed without African countries being the people or the citizens being the priority in signing those things? Whose interest is being protected? Who exactly is fronting? Who exactly is pushing? Most times we don't get to talk about this. We just say, okay, it's government people, government come, government go. No. We pay, I'll say it for the third time, we pay for the consequences of what is being done in those government houses, in those civil service offices, in those big glorious hotels where the people that are supposed to represent us go and sign these deals. We pay for them. Now we've seen a case whereby some African countries, as we speak, the resources in those countries cannot help them because they've been signed away long before a government even came to power. Then the government in power will now protect those that went. Why? Who is held accountable? Who exactly should the people hold accountable? Then in the first place, why don't we get to see the full details of all these transactions in the open? Government business is everybody's business. So when it comes to signing off property that belongs to government, everybody's property, signing off resources that the government has been put in care of, everybody's resources, I think the people should be carried along. Citizens of every country, of members of that country should be carried along. We look at loans that have been taken and can't be accounted for. When is this going to stop? Loans are taken from Bretton Woods organizations. Loans are taken, either be it a trap, whatever you want to call it. But okay, show what they've been used for. No. Account for them. No. Okay, the person that takes that loan or the government that takes that loan, can't we have a law whereby whoever takes a loan must pay that loan before leaving office? These are things we should sit and talk. Are these loans direct traps? The person that is giving it to you, the organization giving it to you, they know very well that you are not going to pay for these loans. They make it a burden in some instances, but yet some group of government officials collect these loans for the next generation to pay. We have seen cases where loan servicing of loans is almost at par with the monies nations are making. The revenue a nation is making is almost same with the money they're using to service loan for a year. How did Africa get here? Then you ask me, Africa is poor. Why will Africa not be poor? If this is the route we've taken, is this the path we walk? Why won't Africa be poor? Then the burdens that come with these loans, why is no one held accountable? You will hear things like there's nothing wrong with loans. After all, other nations are taking loans. How are you faring? How are they faring? If you say the West is burdened with loan, are you faring better than they are? We'll go on a very short break. When we return, we will take this a notch further. But remember, why exactly is Africa poor? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is SOUQ Pulse, and we are looking at Africa's stolen future. My name is Chuks, John Rogers Chuks, and we are asking ourselves directly this question: the taker or the keeper? Who is the thief? Now, let's get to the meat of this matter. Stolen monies are not invested in Africa. Across board, if you look at it, well over 98% of money stolen from Africa by Africans are not invested here. Then we ask again, what exactly is their fear? Why are they scared? It doesn't matter how other nations deal, but we see that a lot of their investment, however they get the money, is invested in their own economies. If 95 or over 95% of these stolen funds from Africa are stashed and saved in legal institutions outside Africa, then who exactly is the thief? I'm sorry for you hearing that word thief, thief. In my language, we don't have a word for corruption. It's called thief. So if you give a loan with full knowledge that that particular money will be stolen, and in return, that money will be saved in your country, I ask again, who is the thief? If you officially bribe, or in your own words, You paid the government official for drilling licenses, for contract, for mining licenses, and you know the money will be shared. Who is the thief? If your economy is at wash with legal binding remittance to your central banks, all at the expense of poor African states, who is the thief? These are things we can't run away from. These are issues we can't run away from. These are present realities we cannot run away from. People will say politics or diplomacy is all about interest. I agree. I 100% agree. It's all about interest. But while you pursue your interest, be it the West, be it Asia, be it the Middle East, be it Africa, while everyone pursue their interest and your interest is favoring you, why stand and start a narrative that counters the livelihood of the other person? Why call a nation or a continent poor when you are directly involved in what is causing poverty there? We read and saw news of a particular nation where we 100% know that there is conflict going on right there. But what is coming out from the news is 100% different. They say there is economic growth. If we flip it and it happens to be in Africa, what sort of narrative are we going to hear? We all need to grow. Africa needs to grow too. We are not just a market. We also want to sell in the market. So while we all talk and say, let's get talking and not be silent, I'm talking to also my brothers, my sisters, fathers, mothers, those before me, those that will come after me. It's our responsibility and we must stand to it. For Africa to grow and make any form of meaning progress, we must eradicate this word called corruption. Now, I say again, there's no word called corruption in my place. So we must eradicate the thief and his agent. Every one of them. So if you followed us from the beginning, you know where we are heading to. If you see yourself in the mirror, spell it out. It is time for the Africa and Africans to enforce her independence. We don't have a choice. We must demonstrate a strong, renewed, and active commitment to combat every socio-economical consequences of bad leadership in Africa. Because it's an involvement, it's a chain, it just plays through. If I wake up and say, this is the leader in my community, then we as a people should hold my leader responsible and accountable. If it's called a democracy, then let it be a democracy. If we must get to the market, then we must sell. And between producing and getting to the market, selling and coming back, we should be able to account for every single expenses, the profit, and the people should know. Then Africa can grow. We have no excuse. We can't keep giving excuses anymore. We must make sure that this generation, we don't lose them. Because Africa, we can't afford to lose them. We are at that crossroad right now as we speak. And this generation is not as patient as those before them. They will not forgive us. Who exactly is the thief? My name is Chuks, John Rogers Chuks, and this is SOUQ Pulse. Bye.